but they can also beat you in the passing game. Lamar Jackson, 36 touchdown passes to only 6 interceptions. He's going to be the runaway MVP. So I think one of the things that we were looking for from him coming into year 2 is how he would improve as a passer. And I think we've seen that Lamar Jackson can beat you with his arm as well as his legs. When it comes to the Tennessee Titans, what their game plan has to be is Derrick Henry running the football, touching it 30 to 35 times. If they're not able to feed Derrick Henry for any reason, then they don't have a chance to be able to put up points with this Baltimore Ravens offense. So for me, the complexion of the game is really what it all comes down to, because if the Baltimore Ravens get out to an early lead, it's going to be hard for the Tennessee Titans to stay with that run game, and you're forced to rely on Ryan Tannehill to be a volume passer, and I don't think that's what Mike Vrabel wants from his team.
I agree 100%. You're talking about two teams that both want to be physical. One, I think, is more physical than the other, and that being the Baltimore Ravens, because they have the better rush defense. They have the better offensive line up front. Now, you can say Derrick Henry might edge out
Derrick Henry's the best running back.
Yes.
But the Ravens probably have the better running game.
Exactly. And so when I look at what both teams have to defend, who am I scared of most? I'm scared of that Baltimore offense more than I am the Titans offense. Looking at the Titans defense, they better be alignment, assignment, and technique sound. Because if you don't contain not only Mark Ingram, but the guy who you talked about being the runaway MVP in Lamar Jackson, you have absolutely no chance of beating this team. And then on top of that, we talked about all offseason. I'll just talk about myself. One of the things I wanted to see him do, throw the ball better. And he's done it. He's thrown it with confidence. He understands when to throw it. And he has a tight end in Mark Andrews that will get open.
He's got 3 tight ends.
Yes. And he understands when to throw it, how to throw it. And that all is a testament to their offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, putting them in the best position.
But he threw it against lesser competition. Well, and now you're playing a team like the Titans. Can you still be as successful?
The Titans, to me, their real strength is their actual offense, because Tannehill was so good once he came in, and Derrick Henry's been sensational. I don't think the Titans have a great defense. But you're alluding to something I said yesterday, Jenna, which was the way for the Titans to win the game. And I want to address that here, actually, because, man, my experience yesterday was wild. Because I have been one of the most vocal Lamar supporters since he declared for the draft of anybody. I sat right across from Jenna and said, I don't understand why he's not discussed his top 15 pick. I think this guy, I thought it would take longer than it took, but this guy can be a franchise quarterback in this league, and I agree with the whole world. He's clearly the unanimous MVP. What I said yesterday was, and I will say again, as upset as the Lamar hive was at me or remains at me, if you say we are going to try to take a little of everything away from Baltimore, you will take nothing away from them and be trounced. If you say we're going to try to take away the downfield passing and the intermediate passing and still give ourselves a fighting shot against the running game, that is how you get beat 45-6. That is how you get embarrassed. The only hope Tennessee has is to dare Lamar to beat them deep down the field and outside the hashes. I am not saying he can't do it. I'm saying you have no shot if you have any other approach. Now, Lamar, as sensational as he's been, I will say it again, the one spot he has been weakest is passing to receivers. Look at their receiver numbers. Now, you could argue it's because he hasn't had to. You can argue it's because they've been so good running the ball, the tight ends have been so good, all of it. Fine. But if Lamar is effective deep down the field passing the football in these playoffs, the Ravens not only will win the Super Bowl, they will coast to the Super Bowl. The defense, since the addition of Marcus Peters and since Earl Thomas has, I think, fully gotten the system, Wink Martindale's done some of his magic, the defense all of a sudden is top 10 defense. The running game is one of the best in the history of football, and Lamar's as dynamic of a weapon as we've seen in recent times. If he also is a consistent deep passer, you can't beat them. Then they have no weaknesses. By the way, they got the greatest kicker I've ever seen.
Yes.
So the point that I was making yesterday, I will make again, is when you see that he had combined, I think, 250 passing yards against Buffalo and the Niners, which is what you're alluding to, and those were close-ish games. The Niners game really close, Buffalo kind of close. You say, okay, that is how you maybe slow down the #1 offense in football, is dedicate all your personnel to the run, and if he's having a good passing game, you're going to lose. But it's the only hope you have. The other hope I think Tennessee has, which is minor, and they can't really affect it, how much rust will Baltimore have early in this football game? Can Tennessee jump out to a lead because Baltimore had the bye and rested guys in Week 17? So the hottest team in football hasn't played their most important players in 3 weeks. Tennessee's only hope is that they're a little rusty. They get out to an early lead. Maybe Lamar goes 3 and out on the first possession. All of a sudden it's 10-0, and now you're playing a Titans brand of football. That is the path to victory. It's a small one, but that's the one that exists for Tennessee.
Yeah, there is a small path to victory for them, and let's not say that the Baltimore Ravens defense is unbeatable, because in the run game, the Baltimore Ravens, even though they're a top 10 group, when you look at yards per carry, they're 21st. So, I mean, you can see that the Baltimore Ravens run defense is in the top 10 because their offense is scoring so many points, and the opposing team has to get away from the run game. They got to throw the football. So if the Tennessee Titans somehow, some way can get an early lead in this game and stay with the run game, then I think they got a shot. Again, if you get Derrick Henry north of 30 carries and you're able to stay with it, and you're getting the production, then I think you have a chance to make this a fourth-quarter game, and then we'll see what can happen. But the Baltimore Ravens are a team that can blow the doors off you. Yes. I mean, they've got 2 all-pros in that secondary, so it's going to be hard for Ryan Tannehill and A.J. Brown to get anything going in the passing game. I think it has to be with their defense selling out to hit Lamar Jackson, not necessarily trying to stop the run, but hit Lamar Jackson and talk the Ravens out of a quarterback-led run game, and then on the offensive side of the ball, being able to feed Derrick Henry, because they're 7-0 when Derrick Henry rushes for over 100 yards. We saw that last weekend. So I think if the Tennessee Titans can do both of those things, on offense, run the ball with Derrick Henry, defensively hit Lamar Jackson early and often, I think they got a shot.
That is the only shot that they have. And I'll say this, and I'll let you go, Jenna. They gave up 3 100-yard rushers this year. They lost 2 of those games, the Baltimore Ravens. Nick Chubb and Monster from, I'm sorry, they didn't even lose both of those games.
Because they lost to the Chiefs and the Browns.
Yeah, they lost to the Chiefs. And Joe Mixon from the Bengals. The one game against the 49ers was in a monsoon. So to your Lamar Jackson throwing its combination against the Bills, and he kind of had to hand the ball off. You weren't throwing in those conditions. The Titans' only chance is to just rely on Derrick Henry and run him until he has nothing left. That is their only chance, because Ryan Tannehill, as you mentioned, those guys on the perimeter guarding your guys are better.
It's the Ricky Williams Miami Dolphins playoff game plan from 15 years ago. 42 carries, and just see if he can just eat up the clock and win the football game. It's a very, very slight path. It's their only path.
All right, well, you guys made all my points, so all I'm going to do is go to a commercial break. Stick around. Chris Canty coming up. Is it a mistake for Mike McCarthy to already be talking about winning a Super Bowl? That is next. It's about as high as you can get with praise for your quarterback. What do you make of what McCarthy had to say about Dak Prescott, Greg?
I think it's all true. When we look at Dak Prescott and we look at the stride that he made this season, it was huge. It was huge, and a large part of that we have to give credit to Kellen Moore, because we saw him take a huge step from a confidence standpoint and his ability to believe and trust in what he was being told, in the plays that he was being given, and that translate to great execution on the football field. Now, with Mike McCarthy, he can advance that. We're talking about a Dak Prescott, and I get it. The hit on him coming into this season was his inability to be accurate. He was accurate this year. He threw the ball with confidence, he threw the ball with velocity, and he threw it with conviction. All things that you need to do as a quarterback that will help your accuracy. He did those things. He threw for almost 5,000 yards this year with a team that we thought would be a heavy run team.
Right.
it was heavy reliant on his arm and his ability to make plays. This is not going to be something that they take away from Dak Prescott. It's going to be something that they continue to build on. And with Mike McCarthy, he understands. We saw what he did with Aaron Rodgers. We saw who he was with Brett Favre. He's not going to stop them from being who they are. He's only going to try to enhance them. And adding Ezekiel Elliott in the passing game and sprinkling in a tight end that is not named
Jason Witten.
Jason Witten is going to do nothing but help Dak Prescott progress and do even more this year.
All right, so all that very well might be the case. None of it was my takeaway from that.